I never met my mother's dad or mother. My mother's mother, which would be my grandma, she passed away when my mother was 14. And my grandpa on her side passed away about 10 days after I was born. So I really never met them. Um, the story has just recently come out about my grandpa. His name was Converse. Last name was Pettingill. And the family came down, they're English. Family came down through Newfoundland, Nova Scotia, and into Maine. And I have two nieces that went out to visit the remaining family out there, which we didn't even know we had. And the interesting part of it is that when my grandpa left, they had no idea where he went. As far as they were concerned, all these years he must have passed away someplace. So they were enlightened by my two nieces, and they were very pleased to know that he had lived a long life, and there was family here that they never knew about. And this is something we just recently found out about ourselves. They're in, I think, in Dexter, Maine right now, but I know my mother used to talk about Old Town, Maine, and I remember that because the Old Town canoes were made there. And of course, Dexter, you have the shoes there now. Yeah. But he, amongst other things, he was a house mover. And in those days, it was kind of interesting because they moved the houses with teams of horses. They would lift the manhole covers out of the center of the street and put in a pulley type attachment on there, wrap it around a few times, hook it onto the house, and the horses then would take and pull until the house started moving, and then they would go from one manhole to the next, and that's how they worked it on down the street. And how they got it up onto another lot, I don't know, but it was interesting. We're guessing that the reason for him to come here was the logging business, and then he worked his way into what we just described. Other than that, I don't know a whole lot more about them. They're buried in the Crystal Lake Cemetery in North Minneapolis, and they had, there was 3 living children, my mother, my Aunt Lil, and my Uncle Fred, but then there were 2 younger siblings that had passed away. I have their names, but not in my memory bank. But they are also buried in a common grave area in the Crystal Lake Cemetery. So I don't know a whole lot about my grandma. Her name was Minnie. I remember that. And having passed away when my mom was 14, my Aunt Lil then helped raise my mom, but they also had people that would come, women that would come in and help with the house. But my grandpa, as I understand it, let them go because they were stealing and blind. Now that I think about it, there's another branch of the family that ended up out in the Seattle area. Their name was Matheny, and they were in the scrap business out there, and steel and that type of thing. Quite wealthy. They had racing horses. My mom and dad had gone out to visit them a couple of times, I think, and they also visited us when we were just little kids. And but that pretty well wraps up the family. They were Matheny's. The ones out east were, their name was Thorne, and that's about all I can remember of the family.